Hello and welcome to GuildGab, everybody! Episode 93. This is celebrating the Path of Fire launch day, which was a week ago today. Crazy. And it is so crazy. We've had an entire week to play. I don't feel like I'm anywhere close to being done. There's so much content, there's so much hype of such a high quality, and we are going to talk about it today. And I am here with my wonderful co-hosts, MMOINKS, RPG Alex, and CorvusPlays. I did it! Yes! A quick spoiler warning, or I guess a non-spoiler warning for everybody before we start here, just to clarify. This show today, we are not talking about... Oops, whoa, sorry guys. About the music there. We are not talking about story instances or lore today. As far as the story instance lore is concerned, we are focusing on the open world experience, mounts, elite specializations, the general open world experience, dynamic events, all the locations that we see in the open world. All of that is on the table, but we will not be discussing story instances or the lore that goes with those story instances for anybody who has not completed the story yet. So,
we'll just get out of the way. Traherne kills Dumbledore.
Yeah, Traherne.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, he comes back from the dead and, you know, goes through the mists into the Harry Potter universe and, you know, takes all the credit.
That's where Ritlock went. Yeah.
Yes, that's true. So I think it kind of goes without saying, because I've been hearing this not only from you guys, but from pretty much the entire community, that this is pretty much agreed to be the highest quality content that ArenaNet has ever released.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And that is just insane praise from... Yeah, it is. And it is extremely high quality content, and it's so refreshing.
Yeah, I mean, by and large, Season 3 kind of was a step up from Heart of Thorns, but Path of Fire is just an order of magnitude higher. I mean, we're probably going to just go into all of like the tiny little bits and pieces over the show, but there's just so much detail, so much care and attention given to bits and pieces, and it's great. There's just improvements across the board in the voice acting, in the map design, in the texture quality, in everything. Really, it's brilliant.
I had a dynamic event make me teary-eyed.
Really?
That's how.
Whoa. Which one?
In the Elon Riverlands.
Yeah.
There is a woman who is escorting people who want to be freed from the awakened camp north of the wall, and because they're still awakened. They're like there's the people who live among the awakened with Joko and serve Joko, praise Joko, and then there's the people who live like north of the wall, but they are like supplying the people inside the wall, and it's very fascinating. Like the entire like structure, the culture in these maps is insane. And then there's the people further north who are like escaping Joko, and there's a woman who is escorting people from that northern camp to the further north where they're like free from Joko, and she's but there's awakened along that path, and so she's escorting them. And if you follow it along, there is a boy who has a little Choya pet and who has Choya friends who are like he hangs out with, and it's her son. And he's like asking her to I'm hearing feedback, by the way, from somebody. Very, very slight of my own voice. But she stops and talks to him, and if you can talk to him independently, and he's like, my mom is, you know, on this adventure, and I'm trying to be brave and you know, do what do what I'm supposed to do and help people, and I really want, you know, to hang out with my mom because my dad isn't awakened, but you know, but I have to be brave. And she stops very briefly, and he's like, Mom, can you come and hang out? And she's like, I can't, I have to escort these people. And so you continue the dynamic event north, you help the people through, and then I was curious, I'm like, I wonder if she just like teleports back or if you can follow her. And so I followed her back, and she stops and she runs up the hill and stops and talks with her son, and it's all voiced.
Aww.
And she's like, you have to be strong, and I'm so proud of you for doing what you're doing. And it's like so touching, and I was like, oh my god.
Wow.
And then it's
So,
oh man, it shocked me.
So what you're saying is that you're aiding refugees who defy our glorious God King.
Yeah.
Glorious God King,
Praise Joker.
Slayer of Zaitan, and
Praise Joker.
Feller of Mordremoth, and
Yeah, he killed Mordremoth with a chicken pie. I
Wow.
believe.
Praise Joker.
I've really
Praise
only
Joker.
played the Crystal Desert, the Uplands, and most of Vabby. The other maps I really haven't played enough of. The Riverlands, there's a lot. I've played some of it, but there's a lot of missing there. Desolation, I've really done very little in the Desolation. So
I feel
Desolation-
I've only seen like half of the Desolation, half of Bobby. Like I'm not even.
Yeah,
I've
There's
not
so
done-
much to do. I was so overwhelmed the first day that I really got to sit down and kind of play in the open world, because I was kind of trying to get through the story to avoid
Yeah.
spoilers. And then when I went into the open world and I was streaming, and so everybody's saying, go here, look at this, and look at this, and there's this collection, and there's this mountain, there's this thing. And I was so overwhelmed that entire first day. I was like, I don't know what to do first. There's too much to do. But it was a good feeling.
it's funny. So my first day when the game launched, and I was streaming a lot like everybody else. I decided, because the game wasn't performing very well on launch day for me, I decided I'm going to get away from as many people as possible. And I picked a direction. I'm like, I'm going to go to the next map. And I just started running. And surprisingly enough, you would think, like, after you find where the different mounts are actually located, it's kind of like, how did I not accidentally stumble upon them? But I came nowhere close to anything really the first day. It's kind of funny. How like close but far away at the same time you are from actually revealing any of that
The
stuff.
maps are huge. Oh my god. I didn't even find the jackal. Well, the jackal training is up in the air with the djinn. So cool.
Not the best place for jackal training, quite honestly.
I think I fell 3
fell off a
times.
few times. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and it's not even. It's kind of like, oh, I fell. Well, shoot, I guess I'll climb back up. No, I fell into poison sand. That's now going to kill me. So it's not even an option to climb back up.
Yeah, like, I walked into the there's that mastery point in the Crystal Oasis, one that is essentially just a massive jackal puzzle. And I kind of wandered in there in the first day, and I think I only had the Raptor at that point. I was just like, what? I was like, what the hell is all this? And eventually, I found like the portal that starts the puzzle, and I was like, go on.
I don't even think I've seen that yet. See,
It's insane.
It's beautiful. It's really.
It's absolutely crackers. But
I haven't done it, but I know where it is.
There's so, like, the weird thing is that there's the maps each have their own kind of, just their own wonderful thing going on. Like the Crystal Oasis has all the stuff we talked about in the demo, but then there's just individual bits and pieces like that. If you guys seen the pyramid, the shattered pyramid or whatever it is.
Oh, so awesome! Oh my gosh,
unbelievably cool.
yeah.
It's just, yeah.
So there's
just,
2 bits too. I think I might do a video on this. This is sort of how my YouTube channel started, was like little interesting places in Tyria. But right where that puzzle that Alex was talking about, the sand portal puzzle thing in Crystal Desert, to get there you go through sort of this cavern, and there's torches you can light in the cavern, which have nothing to do with the puzzle or anything. But if you light all of the torches within enough time, a large chest appears in the cavern that you can loot. Otherwise, the chest doesn't appear. There's no achievement tied to it. There's nothing special tied to it, but it's a special little, like, extra puzzle you can do. And there's another one by the Shattered Pyramid in an underground area where there's a little blue light. And it's not real hard to do, but you hop along these little platforms till you get to the end, and then you can open the chest if you've hit the blue light enough times. Again, no achievement tied to it, nothing special. It's just this extra, like, thing that you can do for a little bit of extra loot for. And I just love, I don't know, I love areas like that in the game.
There's a lot of that, and especially as you get more mounts and come back to previous maps and then level up your mounts, then you can get
Yeah.
to more of those secret areas. You start passing through areas. I mean, way before I got the Jackal, I started seeing the Jackal portals,
Oh
and it
yeah,
was just
all
like,
over the place.
oh,
That's
I want to
what's-
go in there, but I can't.
That's
I
what's
want to go
really
in there.
cool is that there's this air of non-linearity to all the maps
Yeah,
that
very.
that you have to have all of the you have to have like the full collection of mounts to be able to get to some places. Like there's a skimmer one in the Crystal Oasis, there's a bunny one in the Crystal Oasis, there's the jackal one as well. The one up by Glint's Legacy, I think you have to have a bunny with the increased jump to get as well.
Yes, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pain
You
in
know
the
what's
ass to get
but
that.
what's so good about it is that there's places that don't even require that. Like the maps are so big, there's so many tiny little details that like you don't need a mount together, but you just walk past it and don't realize it's there. You know,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
in the Highlands, that snowy the snowy bit in like the northwest. You know, I went up there and was exploring a bit and then went away, and then I didn't even realize it was a whole mine which has like a mini
Oh.
dungeon.
It
there.
is.
man.
It's
You
a
know, like-
mini dungeon with achievements and skins, and we were doing it on stream on Wednesday,
that-
Bog and I, and it's huge.
Yeah, it took
I
us,
went.
it took,
I went in that mine just to get like there's a mastery, there's a vista, and there's like a point of
And-
interest, and I was like, oh, okay, that's it, I'm done. And we went back in there and found this entire mini dungeon. There's a RNG like puzzle where you can there's a little bowl. You go into this room and there's a little bowl on the ground, and it says like, would you like to drop a gold in there? And you're like, sure, I'll drop a gold in there. And then it ports you to the next room, and you have two chests to choose from, and you have to keep choosing the right chest, and it's 100% RNG,
it's like Zelda,
50-50.
dude.
It
It's
is.
like the old chest
And
map,
it keeps,
like
if you
Zelda.
pick correctly, it ports you to the next room, and I think there's like 3 or 4 rooms, and if you get to the end, I think you get like a recipe for like the 24 slot bag or something.
Oh, wow.
Not worth the like 100 gold it takes to actually
No.
get through,
Oh,
unless
God,
you're
no.
extremely lucky. But it's intriguing because you want to keep trying. I mean, I spent like 10-15 gold just because I'm like, oh, let's see if I get lucky. Let's see if I get lucky. And there's a lot of things like that. And there's like a wishing well in Vabi. You can throw money in this wishing well. You can throw mystic
Yeah.
coins in the wishing well, and so much stuff like that. It's like you go there once, you're like, okay, I'm done. But if you explore a little further, there's so much more to discover.
And there's just the content is like there's just I don't know, it's rich. Like that whole mini dungeon thing. You know, you put the runes in, you go into these rooms and unlocking doors and progressing. But there's like 6. I don't know, I can't remember exactly how many, but like 5 or 6 weapon skins that are completely unique to that dungeon. Like they've never done anything like. Usually it's like a chest with blues or greens or like maybe a guaranteed rare or something. But it was just a cool thing that sucked like an hour plus of my time, like just exploring and playing around. And there's just loads of things that you miss, and the mounts kind of gate some of that and make maps have some replayability, but they're just so big and vast that you end up having loads of stuff to go back and see regardless of whether you have the mounts or not. And it's super cool. And I really like how this time, like, we're not talking about the story today, but the story wasn't like in Heart of Thorns, the story was kind of gated behind like every mastery, so it forced you to kind of get most of them just to progress. But in this, it's like you can do so much of it without having to even
You
pay
can
attention
actually
to that stuff.
You can actually complete the story with just the raptor.
So
don't-
it's
Don't need the bunny.
it just
or
fits
the,
this theme of
camera.
everything being so free form and kind of up to you. You know, like
Yeah.
it's you can kind of
Choose
go
the
anywhere,
way
do
you play.
anything. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so cool, and we've not
It's great.
seen design like that in Guild Wars like forever, if ever.
Wow, huge! I just have to point out a huge compliment in chat. The first I've seen, Loomis says this expansion would have been worth the full price. ArenaNet
Oh, yeah.
didn't need to sell it for $30.
100%.
Yeah, they could've-
Wow.
They could
mean,
have gone.
I haven't even. Go ahead, Alex. Sorry.
That's right. I was gonna say, yeah, they could have priced it the same as Heart of Thorns.
I think they had to
and-
prove themselves, though. It was very important that they prove themselves that
Yeah.
they could do an
Yeah.
expansion like this, especially after the criticism that Heart of Thorns got.
What I found the most refreshing about it was that Heart of Thorn, when you look at Heart of Thorns, regardless of all the stuff about the maps and the verticality and all that, Heart of Thorns was very much it was an end game expansion. It was the content was objectively harder. Raids were introduced as part of the package as well, but that's by the by. The maps themselves are objectively harder. The way that the meta events were set up was designed to push people towards the end game grind for the currency.
Mhm.
But what the most fantastic thing about Path of Fire for me is that it's taken me back to that core Guild Wars 2 experience. It feels like Guild Wars 2, and even going into like the Crystal Oasis, there's, even though it's a little bit copy and paste, there's an event where you have to protect water pipes in the city of Amnoon water bit towards the south of it, and it really reminds me of that event in Queensdale. And I remember being up at like 6 a.m. on the day that Guild Wars 2 launched. It reminds me of that event where you have to stop the bandits trying to blow up the try and blow up the water pipes there. It just feels like core Guild Wars 2, and I think that's what we've been missing between Heart of Thorns and the end of Season 3. That they've tried to do. They've got this very particular dynamic about how Heart of Thorns and the Season 3 maps have worked, which is fine. I enjoy the Season 3 maps. I go and do my dailies, have a kick around, and farm my stuff and hit stuff. But aside from doing my meta events, like I'm going to be spending a lot more time in the Path of Fire maps. They're just friendlier. They're better looking. They're easy to get around. I suppose they are objectively easier. I think that the difficulty curve has been flattened out a bit between Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire.
But I don't even care.
That's a good
thing.
I
don't even care. It doesn't even bother me.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. One of the most wonderful things, there are no longer any group event hero points. That just really got to me in Heart of Thorns.
They're very challenging if you're by yourself, a lot of them. At least for me, like I can't even beat that Jhin by myself in Crystal Oasis. Like, they're very challenging, but you just bring a couple friends and you don't need an entire squad of 30 people to get these hero points.
Yeah. What was really embarrassing was, there's that memory one where you have to like press the buttons in order.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, my memory is terrible.
That took like 40 minutes to do. I just couldn't get it to stick in my head.
Yeah.
And I was there, I was like, what's he doing?
I'm just like, why do I have a goldfish brain? Why can't you remember 12 seconds, damn it? It's not that difficult. There's only 6 of them.
Throwbacks, though. Oh, my God.
There's so much.
Oh, so much nostalgia.
I feel like this is it's such a kind of a fan service, but it's not like a cheap fan service. Like, so much of Path of Fire is there to play on nostalgia and kind of old lore, but you're right, Alex, it's almost like fan service for like old school Guild Wars 2 as well. Like, it's that same kind of exploration, just kind of get yourself lost and look around and listen to what NPCs are saying, which again, it's not something we saw in Heart of Thorns. I still really like Heart of Thorns, and I feel like the kind of difference in the kind of styles of maps was probably a design choice to make sure that Heart of Thorns was still alive after Path of Fire.
So now you can take your mounts back to Heart of Thorns maps, making me more fun.
The only thing that I've sort of heard, and I haven't experienced this because I have a lot to explore yet. There is so much that I haven't done in Path of Fire. But the only complaints I've heard is that there's not really... There may be 1 or 2 events that are like sort of the Garant or the Octavine.
There's a few small meta events, but
they're really small. Like, emphasis on the small. They're
they're in sections of these huge, gigantic maps. You could be on the other side of the map and have no idea another meta event's going on.
So, like, if I had a criticism, I guess that would be that. Ideally, in my mind anyway, there would be a better mix of the way everything is, which is fantastic, but add in 1 or 2 of those key events that they don't have to take the entire map, because Path of Fire maps are gigantic, but they should take a portion of the map, be rewarding, and require some coordination to complete.
I still haven't figured out how to do the Augury Rock event. Like, I've been around there a bunch of times, and I was like, I don't know what to do.
Jump in, kill the Guardians, and
the closest thing we have, I think, to a Heart of Thorn style meta would be the one in the Desolation. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
Is that the one with the worms?
No, but that's really cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's at the Maw of Torment, and it's kind of, there's 3 lanes, kind of a short
Oh.
escort, kill the thing, break the portal, go in, and then there's a boss that spawns.
Oh, cool.
And to be fair, I've not seen that happen. Like, I've not seen that succeed.
There's a lot of people not down there yet. I know I'm still
But
working
that's
my
it.
way through.
I think it's just because
maps.
people, you know, it's like, oh,
I've heard that it's a decent enough event, but that it's not super rewarding.
it's not on the same tier as
No.
the Heart of Thorns ones, and yeah, the rewards won't be there, I don't think.
I think what's going to kind of keep people going is the bounties. I think those are going to substitute for the big map.
Right, and I joined a bounty train the other night and had a lot of fun,
good.
actually.
So comfy. Just sit back, and it's like the old champ trains. It's like
Yeah.
champ train or
It
the
is.
Queensdale one before the nerfs. Like,
Yeah, we
it was
didn't
so
fight.
comfy.
We didn't fight any legendary ones. It was the commander was picking whatever the heck he was picking. I don't even know. But I was just running around with a group of people in a large mount pack, just a pack of random mounts, you know, and yeah, it was just fun. You know, it was relaxing, rewarding. Yeah, you know.
Well, Leo Berend in chat says bounty rewards also need to be better in his humble opinion. Well, sir, you are in luck because there is an entire weapon set gated behind bounties.
Oh,
So what
really?
you have to do, you have to kill all 9 legendary bounties. You get a mosaic from each one of them, hand it in to a vendor at the Tomb of Primeval Kings, which unlocks the funerary weapon set, and you then have to purchase them using what they call other mosaic pieces or whatever that
Just
can only be got from bounties.
Yeah.
And
That's
each,
cool.
That's what I'm working on right now. I'm
Yeah.
not far off.
Each
from having
one-
done enough.
each one-handed is 36, and each two-handed is 72.
Hmm.
So, and honestly though, if you've not had a look at them yet, they are absolutely gorgeous. They've got this wonderful purple glow to them.
Mhm.
They're really, really cool. Really, really nice.
Super, super cool. I like the armor set there as well. Like, you get this book that unlocks a bunch of collections, which kind of force you through like kind of all the content in the new maps. Really, there's a lot of key events you have to do. There's bounties you have to do. Like, there's kind of exploration stuff that one requires you to do, like a bunch of hearts in each map, and so and that unlocks the armor set. You get like a box and you can choose a piece of each piece. But then once you've unlocked them there, you can then go and spend the currency you get from bounties at the vendor and the Primeval Kings, the Tomb of the Primeval Kings, and then you can buy copies of that. Unfortunately, there seems to be a couple of new armor. There's like a new armor sets in the game but they don't seem to have a collection, and that kind of bothered me. That's another complaint I think I have. A lot of the new skins aren't parts of collections, and collections really, I don't know, for a lot of people that's content that keeps them playing for a long time.
It's an easy way to track your progress, which is
Yeah,
what
yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
people
exactly.
like, and feel achieved when you see everything completed in that collection.
And I don't know, I hope somehow they fix that if they can, because I've been having a lot of fun doing these collections to unlock these sets, but having like an overarching collection would be so
I'm not even there yet. I'm still on map completion, and then I'll figure out like all the bounties and rewards. I have heard people having a ton of fun with the bounty system.
Yeah.
And with me, I haven't necessarily been like activating bounties, but what is cool is it has a unique icon, right, on the map. So if you're just wandering around the world, you can recognize something as a bounty. And for me, if I see that icon, I'm much more likely to go and help, because I know that a person activated that and they want to get that bounty. So I'm like, well, what if there's nobody helping them?
Yeah.
And so that makes me want to go and help them, because I know that they activated it and they want this achievement rather than it just being a random boss on a timer.
Yeah,
I actually did see. I was messing around today, and again bringing it back to the Shattered Pyramid, the Colossus bounty in there.
What's
is that
it
about?
called? I can't remember what it's
I
called.
haven't seen that
I
one.
don't think
Yeah,
I've
that
seen
was-
it.
Oh, it's
That was so
insane.
tough.
Like there were like 5 of us there, and it just spams AOE all across that interior bit.
No, that's at the facet. Yeah.
Yeah, and then following it around was like a champion healing coalescence.
Yeah.
Oh,
This
when
thing
that
just
healing
kept going
coalescence,
around.
yeah,
Because
those are tough.
the little buffs it gets are like kind of, they're RNG, aren't they? Like they kind of.
I think is it similar to like Signet of Inspiration on Mesmer or something. You just get a random boon every now and again.
I'm not sure, but like they kind of, I don't know. There's been some super cool mechanics. Like there's one that has like a stop and go sign.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
So you
see.
see on
I
the
saw
hand,
that.
and you have to stand still, otherwise you get permanently blinded.
Oh, you
and
have to
then when
stand
it's-
still.
you have to
Oh,
stand
I thought you had to
still.
stop attacking. See, I don't even know because I've done so
No.
few of them. I had to learn what all the modifiers are. I was like,
And then
go ahead.
that's right. And then it goes to like the walking symbol, and you have to move, otherwise you're permanently blinded. So you're
Oh.
constantly stopping, and then some of them have like the I can't remember where the mechanic's been before in the game, but the one where the eye appears above it, and you have to turn your character away, otherwise you get petrified.
Oh.
The
Like stuff like
observatory.
that's it, yeah. So like
Yeah.
it's super cool. Like and it's just like you never know which one of these like kind of gambits or whatever are gonna be on the thing. There's ones where there's zones you have to stand in that constantly change, otherwise you do no damage. So it's super cool.
It's
like,
cool because you
just-
have to. It's such a unique idea. Every time it's spawned, it has a different one of those mechanics, and so not only do the players have to learn those mechanics, those modifiers that a boss could possibly have, as well as combinations of two. Like, oh, if it has these two, then it's almost impossible, you know, or you have to do it this very specific way, and then you also have to know the mechanics of the boss itself. And so it's every time you see a bounty, it's gonna be different because it's gonna have a different modifier.
like I've seen
It's so
combos
cool.
like of where it spawns like melee range AoE poison, but also has the thing where it has to be damaged up close.
Yeah.
Otherwise it has like strong defenses or something. Like it's super cool combinations. And, like,
I seen
So
somebody
it's-
mention. Go ahead, Corvus.
I was just gonna say it's like a champ train, but way more involved because you have
Yeah.
to think about it. You know.
It's
Yeah.
not just a DPS check, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
The I seen somebody mention. I did see this one. There's one where these little things plop down, and it's like the Diablo laser beams that circle around.
Yeah.
Sort of flop them all over the area, and you gotta not get hit by those.
I don't know if
Yeah,
it's that
Oh,
one, but I had
that's-
one where it was
that's
summoning fireballs from the sky. Just like
That's every forged enemy, isn't it? It's,
Well,
it's like the
true.
forged. It's like the veteran forged
The-
officer.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
the
Just has, like-
officers.
It just has like a firestorm without a cooldown, and
Yeah.
but what I like is never mind. It's just a point that we made. It just seems more accessible than
Yeah.
than harder.
No.
And, like the rewards as well, like they felt pretty good. Like Heart of Thorns felt like it added like next to no armor sets. I don't know how many, if it's added more or not. But there's loads of like secret things in there. Like I only found out earlier today that there's actually a new finisher for PvP and
Oh,
what
really?
that you get.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
found that
That
out.
you have to do stuff for like the Order of Shadows, and they give you can get one in game by playing PvE. A new finisher.
Oh wow.
That was super neat.
You know what area I really loved was the first time that I came across. I think it's in Destiny's Gorge, the Zephyrite's old home, where it's all built up and it's the old Zephyrite shacks all over the place and the bridges.
Which, by the way,
really cool.
inhabited by a bunch of Zephyrites who are dicks.
They're not Zephyrites, they're refugees, and that's what
Yeah,
pissed me
they're-
off. I heard there was a
they're
Zephyrite
scavenger.
village, but there's no Zephyrites there.
Well, no, they're Zephyrites who've enslaved the refugees, aren't they?
No,
They're
no.
just
I thought they were
refugees.
Are they just
but they're, like,
refugees?
The
Oh,
Zephyrites,
and
the
stuff.
Zephyrites made their home there in the cliffs, of course, and you can go way up, like way up into the
Yeah.
sky. And there's bridges and houses. It's really cool. But there's no
There's also a
Zephyrites there. They
rich
used to be
orichalcum node
there,
in
and
the,
then because they move on,
mine.
the Zephyrites don't like make their home
They
anywhere
all
permanently,
died,
so they
remember how-
moved on. They're all dead in the dry top now.
Yeah.
They're all
But
dead.
there's
They're just-
refugees there, and they're trying to
Sitting
make
out
their
there.
home there. But they're like, you know, they say we can't go south, we can't go north because of, you know, the Forged and the Awakened. So they're kind of stuck there and trying to make their home there.
And the Zephyrites didn't really leave anything for them to really scavenge too much. That's why you need to build weapons for them, stick and an anvil and
Yeah.
whatever. But there's a whole story there, an ambient dialogue where one guy is like, I wonder what happened to the people who used to live here. I hope they're okay. And it's like,
Oh, too soon.
it didn't end so well for them. I'm sorry.
No. See, and that's what excites me too is I even though I'm going around and getting map completion, I know that I haven't even scratched the surface of the ambient dialogue and talking to
Yeah.
everyone, and like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be going through these zones again for, you know, years and
Yeah.
still
Without-
hearing
yeah,
things I've never heard
so
before.
Yeah,
There's so much of it compared to
it-
ever before.
yeah, without spoiling too much, because I know we're trying to stay away from the story. There's a heart for an area called the Necropolis in either the Desolation or in Vabi, and
Maybe.
yeah, because of how the Awakened storyline goes, it's just a completely different experience to what you were
You're talking about
expecting.
your wee army. You kind of commanding your little guys. Are you talking
No,
about
no,
that?
no, 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 no. It's
Because it's the heart that does that.
Oh, really?
And
I haven't found that
yeah,
yet.
oh
you
yeah.
have to. You can change formations and practice
Is-
against like targets and stuff. You're training the newly awakened and stuff.
Ah, okay.
Is it similar to
cool.
that story instance?
Yeah.
Oh, that
Spoilers.
that was so
Alex,
good.
You're fired.
But no, there's because of how the Awakened story plays out, the way that the Necropolis the heart works was just completely unexpected.
Hmm.
And this is the thing, like the hearts just add. There are these. I mean, there's hearts that are just like feed carrots to the bunnies and get the
Your standard
get the
hearts. Yeah.
yeah, you spend hearts feed you know. And then there's this one that is kind of really almost like really touching. Actually, it was really nice. And
You talking about the Oregon one? That's my
no,
favorite.
no. I'm
I love
The
that one.
Choya made you cry, didn't they?
oh, the Choya
The
was just
Choya
brilliant. It was
heart.
like,
Did you just
The
help
heart
the
thing is
Choya
so good.
or don't.
or don't? Why are you help the Choya for some reason?
For some reason.
The hearts have been really magic, but also the masteries have been like a lot of them are communes and stuff. But there's one I came across the other day in Riverlands, I think, at the north. And you talk to this person expecting talk to this person, I do a thing, probably fight them and get a mastery point. But she sent me on this quest to find all of her like bits of lost gear, like all over the map, and like this kind of a long term thing that you get from
I'm
mastery.
still doing that
or,
one. Yeah, I was like,
or-
wow, I
or
don't get it right
Jin-
away.
I was
It's
like,
so
oh,
cool.
it's a fetch
And there's like
quest.
Jin that you have to answer
Oh.
riddles and loads
Yeah.
of cool stuff like that. It's a bit more involved, and the hearts are the same. Just super imaginative, Like you obviously they always have the option to just kill stuff to get it.
Yeah,
it's-
you've
it's
always
not-
had the option to do stuff. I feel like some of the options are more creative this time around.
Yeah, and it's usually faster and more fun to do. The
I
other
just
ones
like
as well.
I just like catching the Oregons in the Necropolis heart or whatever it is.
I haven't done
I
that
do that all
yet.
day.
He goes and he grabs a body that he pulls into this area where there's all of these canopic jars, and they're all labeled stomach, liver, whatever, the intestines, whatever, right?
Oh.
And then he throws out an Oregon in a little circle appears. You got to be under the circle to catch it, but he'll throw out like stomach. I'm like, how many stomachs does this guy have? It's like 5 stomachs in a row, or like 3 livers in a row. Nothing but intestine, and it's like, wow, this is something special here. And then eventually, like, the body runs out of organs. I mean, how many stomachs can you have, right? Then he takes the body out and he brings another one in, and it's just really cool.
Do you know how they used to get brains out back in the day?
This is a history lesson.
Back in
With
the
the
day.
thing through the
They
nose,
shove
right?
it up
Yeah.
your nose.
Yeah, they got
A
a
hook.
red hot thing and shoved it right in my good old stir. And pulled it out.
That's
like that.
one of the secret hearts.
Just like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's an
In
extra
fact,
hard.
Pull out
got
the
some more trivia
brains.
for you. Got some more trivia for you. The awakened mummies. Now this is interesting. That mummy has nothing. Mummy comes from the Arabic mumas, which actually means tar. Because
Just
when bodies were
hummus.
first mummified, they embalmed it in tar,
Mm.
and the name came across, and I was like, oh, they're doing this. They're doing all this stuff, and I loved
That's
it
cool.
because this is very much my jam.
Nice.
It's like,
They
oh,
definitely like ArenaNet definitely did some serious research on a number of these things where it's just little things, and some of them are tweaked obviously for the world that we're playing in, but
Mhm.
some real nice callbacks to just certain practices that are just done like according to like the way the real world would do it, right? It's really cool.
They did their research.
yeah, it's
so good.
What do you guys think about the music overall?
So good.
It's like the best music that's been in the game. Like there was there was a lot of standout tracks in Heart of Thorns. You know, obviously the Auric Basin stuff, to Rear, and season 2 there was stuff like the Golden Cave, things like that. But I feel like just the ambient stuff or the combat music now, like really stands out as like just an amazing piece of music.
Who wrote this stuff? Was it McLean again?
McLean did most of the, like, he did the theme, he did the open world ambient overture music, and then they hired, I believe, 3 other composers to do more of the combat music.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Because McLean, I think it was in one of the dev chats, or it was in the pre-show to launch, I think. Yeah, he said that he believes himself to be weak when it comes to combat music. So they actually hired, I think it was up to 3 other artists, other composers.
Yeah. Should you get the guy who did the music for Doom to do the combat music?
What's his name?
Mick.
Oh, and they also did there's a track that they use a lot with like a men's choir, and it's like in Latin, or and it's very
they actually
ambient.
had a real
And it was the first time that the series, the company had ever used a live choir to do that.
And it's been the first time in ages that they've actually had choir. Like, I think apart from the final music, like boss fight music in Heart of Thorns, I don't think there was any choir in Heart of Thorns soundtrack. And
no, it was just more dramatic, and that was all synthesized.
Yeah, and there hadn't been anything with choir parts since Jeremy Soul's done it. Like, he used it a lot. There's a few tracks in Go Wars 2, but there's a lot just really ambient kind of background choir stuff he used to do in Go Wars 1 music. And you know what? I actually think having brought choir back into Guild Wars really kind of it completed the circle, I think, of this kind of bridge of Jeremy Soul's kind of cool ambient stuff with the newer styles, and it kind of, I don't know, it just felt really Guild Wars. The music in this expansion feels so Guild Wars-y. And I feel like I don't know, like McLean's really just made it his own. He's kind of taken all the parts that kind of made Guild Wars, and just kind of moved on into his own kind of his new grounds now. Like, it's so good. The music in this is like the best music that Guild Wars 2's ever seen.
I think I'm gonna have to disagree with that personally, and music is a very personal thing.
Yeah, obviously.
So, overall, it's not my favorite music in the Guild Wars 2 franchise, but it fits the area, it fits the desert, it fits like all of the themes and the moods of these maps and this story perfectly. Perfectly. This is what's funny. The only thing in the entire, like, my initial Path of Fire playthrough that made me cry with tears coming down my face, there was one moment that happened, and it was very early on when I heard the music, and it was the Guild Wars 1 Crystal Desert music. Because it was this blast of nostalgia, because I was among the sand dunes in the desert, and I heard the original Crystal Desert music, and I was just like, we're here, we're playing this. So it was like kind of a music nostalgia bomb combination.
Speaking of nostalgia, I don't know if we can categorize this as spoilers and talk about it next week, but there's a very interesting theory about the Herald of Balthazar.
Oh yeah,
but we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, probably next week.
Let's talk about that one.
I did hear about that.
Inks, what did you think about the music?
I don't know if I've heard all of the different. How many different tracks are there? Do we know exactly?
Well, no,
an
and that's the
official
thing.
list?
I mean, to make proper judgment, I'm gonna have to wait until the actual soundtrack comes out and listen to it without all the combat music and stuff.
I mean, I've been a bit
sounds.
I've been a bit spoiled because I've had access to that track for a long while now, like bits and pieces of it from the DAT file, but also, So it's funny because I've been using the Choya background music for a long while in videos now. Nobody has picked up on it until they went to that heart. And then they're like, how did you get that music? I want that music. Give it to me. Give me the music. What are you doing?
It should be
I just AFK there listening to the music. Give me that piece of music. And I'm like...
You know what's funny is I found out that track that plays when you go into the Choya cave, the Choya city, is it's actually not on the music slider. It's actually on the player instrument slider.
is it?
Because I didn't hear it. Like,
No
I was
way.
playing with Bod, and we
because
went in
it's
there, and he's like,
proximity
"This
based.
music is awesome! Oh my god, this is hilarious!" And I'm just like, I don't hear it. And I'm sitting there, I thought it just hadn't queued up yet for me. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, it still hasn't queued up for me. And I realized I had my player instrument slider all the way off. And as soon as I turned it up, boom, 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 and I was like, yes. So I don't know if it's meant to be like a joke that they're playing the music,
Yeah,
like
it
the
will be
Choya.
that.
I think that's what, or if it's a bug or something. But I thought I
Well,
found
it's
that
like
very
when
funny.
it's like the bands that play. You know, when you get like the one in Lion's Arch and the band that's in the casino and
Right,
as
right.
well. When you
Tyrion
you
direction.
get closer to them, and I guess
Oh, I
it's because it's
see.
proximity based or something, and it's probably
Oh.
easier to do that rather than set
Oh,
up
that
some
makes
fading
sense.
in thing.
There's a number of like background combat music pieces that I wasn't overly familiar with that I thought were really well done as well, that I enjoyed. There's definitely a couple of moments, without getting into story spoilers, where like something is happening in the story and that music kicks in and it's like, hey, let's go!
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
rip your face off. Come
It's
over
so
here.
good. Like when it just explodes sometimes, like when you're fighting something and you're like, yes, it's so good. And
Do you know? Oh, God, sorry.
But I can hear McLean is always been really cool at mixing influences into his like compositions, and I kind of went into this expansion like kind of listening up for little things that could be like references or like where he might have like gotten inspiration from. And there's some tracks that stood out as there's a particular cutscene involved in the story that has like this really Danny Elfman part in it that reminds me a little
Yeah.
bit like Edward Scissorhands or something.
Yeah,
like
I know
kind
the
of,
bit you mean.
yeah, and then there's a track that plays in the open world as well. I think in the Highlands Loads, which reminds me so much of the Lord of the Rings score. And it's not like he's not copying them. He's not, but it's obviously it's his music, and you know it sounds like his music. But it's just like little references that kind of, it's so cool. Like the way there's so many layers to everything. I really like the score for Path of Fires.
Do you know what I thought was
I need a
almost as
record.
good?
Just saying.
It's like
Yes,
the voice
please.
acting.
Yeah, vinyl, please. Voice acting.
The voice acting, with one exception, was fantastic.
What
I know-
exception was
What's the
that?
exception? Can you
I wonder.
wait? Can you
Don't
say
go
what
into
the exception
story.
is?
But speaking of voice acting, in the open world, there's a ton of spoken dialogue just among like NPCs and dynamic events. There's tons of spoken dialogue.
Yeah,
It's
I love
great.
it. Just for the record, it's not who you think I'm going to say it is. There's never been anything wrong with that particular character's voice actor.
Oh boy, I actually think that it was much better this time around.
It was fantastic.
Everything. Like
Yeah.
everything took a step up.
Yeah,
There's
it really
a
did.
so there's
Everything.
an Asura. I tend to pay attention to the Asura. They happen to be my favorite race, and so going through and listening to some of the different Asura, they hired or brought on some new voice actors who took a very different spin on the Asura.
Ooh.
Because males, generally speaking, have a very gravelly, like, you know, they have a certain sound to them, or they sound like Flunt, or, you know, they have a particular voice pattern. Females have sort of this opposite voice pattern to them, but there was one or two of them that had, I can't explain it exactly, but there's a guy in the Riverlands when you first get there, and he wants you to come help him, and he keeps saying, like, you know, drop what you're doing and come help me. And his voice in particular is very different from like the typical sort of Asura that you hear.
Yeah.
And it was just nice to hear.
See by Augury Rock, is he one of the
variety.
hearts? He's in that
Yeah.
little tent. I noticed.
Yes.
Oh,
I
yeah.
noticed him too.
Yeah.
His voice was phenomenal,
Yeah. Very different from the normal Asura.
but still sounded like an Asura.
It really stood
Yeah.
out to me. Like I can even remember his voice just thinking about it because I had to do that.
Yeah,
a
he
few
was
times for
great.
different things, and like
Even, yeah, it was all good. Even like the writing as well. There's this, you know those nice little bits that we got in Heart of Thorns, where if you're a Sylvari, you know, you got little extra bits and pieces. In episode 6, or is it episode 5 of Living World, you can make some choices. You can get some extra input depending on what your class is, like Ranger, Elementalist, Thief,
yeah.
and something else. There's this great little bit in one of the story missions, but I'm not going to spoil it what it's about. But they're talking about the bad two of the characters with you are talking about the bad guys, and one of them says, Mesmers, they're as bad as elementalists,
Elementalists or something, yeah.
and if you play an elementalist, he looks at you and goes, "No offense, Commander." Yes.
I know. Trust me, we're all dying to talk
Yeah,
story, but
seriously, like,
this would be.
That's why we were late, because we were just talking.
Yeah,
to each
that's
other
true.
and stuff.
And the other reason we're splitting it up is this would be a 4-hour show if we included absolutely
yeah.
everything. So, so I promise we will talk story as soon as possible.
Yeah.
There's
I
another
just-
event in the Uplands. One of the first events I think that you can probably encounter, where you're trying to stop. I don't know, a lich, a commander, or whatever you want to call it, from Joko's army. He's trying to breach the walls of that city, whatever it's called, that you first come, because they're protecting a sun spear.
Yeah, I know the one you mean.
And I don't know, I just thought that was really cool. They're protecting this lone sun spear because they're this endangered sort of species of people. And I don't know, I really liked it. After you succeed the event, the Sun Spear has some dialogue for you, some ambient dialogue or whatever you want to call it. Not ambient, but she has some dialogue for you and sort of talks about the plans. And in that same map, not too far away, you can run into the Spellbreaker NPC, which I haven't run into all the different NPCs yet. But the Spellbreaker one goes into very detailed description of, why they're a Spellbreaker, that they had to get rid of their spears, they sort of broke the heads off, and now they're daggers, and
I want to find
they're
those so bad.
Very cool, very cool stuff.
I can't believe Loomis doesn't like the human female voice. So I played through on my Ranger, and obviously human female meta, extra 10% damage. I thought she was fine. fine.
I'm not crazy about her either. She had her moments where she shined, but nothing against the voice actress.
As much as I've heard from it, she seems a bit dry. Kind of a bit
very
too
dry at points, very flat. Yeah.
One
Do you know
thing
who didn't shine? Do you know
the
who
human
didn't
female?
Yeah, the human female voice is lackluster.
That's what I played through. I didn't think it was that bad.
There were moments where she was phenomenal, but there's other she's either like really emotional, mostly when you're angry, or she's like super flat. In my opinion, no offense meant to the actress.
There's a character that you meet at the very beginning of Act 3.
Alex, man.
Dude, stop. Just no.
He can't help himself.
That character's voice acting, terrible. Completely the wrong voice.
Okay.
Completely the wrong voice for that particular character.
You'll have to tell me next week.
I mean, I mentioned in season 3. Actually, I probably mentioned after Heart of Thorns that like the Sylvari male. I don't know the female voice actress, but the Sylvari male voice actor like, really got to me. And then
does she do Sylvari female?
Yeah.
I think so.
No way.
But throughout season 3, like the Sylvari male voice actor just really started to shine. Like I don't know where it came from, but like at Air's funeral, like it properly got me. And then all through Path of Fire, like I've never felt like more connected to my character, and it's all because of.
See, I need to play it through on another race. I really do.
Same. At least a couple of different ones, because I played Heart of Thorns as a male Sylvari, and I think the male Sylvari is probably my favorite voice actor for the characters. I played human female for Path of Fire, and I didn't have any problems. I enjoyed her delivery, generally speaking. So I need to play through on a couple of others. Generally, for season 3, the second half of season 3, I played mostly male Asura, and I just can't. As much as I love Asura, the male Asura voice I just can't get into. He just doesn't sound serious ever. Like everything always seems like it's. And then when they are joking and telling lines in season 3, it makes the jokes even worse when they're at the inappropriate times, right? So, I mean, I'm gonna play through him as well because he's my main character. He's the ranger for Path of Fire next, but we'll see. I guess we'll see how the line delivery goes for that.
The Sylvari guy is he's perfect at everything. What I really liked about him was, like my first ever character was a Norn, and I played through the whole personal story with him before making my Sylvari Necro. but I really like the actor's just really good at being emotional. He's amazing at making his voice shake like at the right points.
Oh.
No, he's great.
And and I don't know if that's just like the actor really getting into it, or if he's just acting really well. But like he can joke around, and it's like it fits when he jokes around. But he also can be angry when he can bark stuff sometimes when it's like an argument or like a to and fro between him and some bad guy, and it's just like the perfect kind of trinity of like emotional, funny, and angry.
You're really making me want to make a male Sylvari.
It's so good.
It's good.
Like
it's
just
really
play,
good.
even just do like the heir's funeral like little instance at season 3, like, and just listen to the speech. It's so good. Anyway, yeah, voice acting, everything in Path of Fire is 10 times better than it was.
Just a lot of the regular ambient NPCs are just really well done.
They had the new cast.
Zalambor, whoever plays the voice actor for Zalambor, really love him. I don't think that's a big spoiler. He's all over the place, but
He's in
really,
the world, yeah.
really love the voice actor for him as well. He does a really good job. Just a lot of them. I mean, there's so many we can go into later, but they did a really great job. I know that Eve is in charge of corralling like the voice actors and whatever, and I'm not sure if she's the one who picks all of the different voice actors. I'm sure there's probably a group of people who do that, but just like phenomenal work for
Even the elite spec announcement videos, like the narrator like had this deep movie trailer voice. I was like, that dude's awesome. Like everything was just like one-upped in this expansion.
They brought in a new cast of voice actors and stuff as well for more NPCs. It's kind of nice not to hear the same voices over and over again.
I was so worried.
There was a couple times in NPCs where I heard Canuck or I heard Timey or Bram. Yeah, it was another one. Only a couple times though. It wasn't like for this half of the cast, for every female they used the same.
I was very worried about that because Phidias at the very beginning is Bram. You could it's just Bram, right? It's like, I'm Bram with a deeper voice. It's like, you can tell it's still Bram, right?
There's one thing that still does irk me somewhat about the voice acting, and I've accepted that it's not going to change because it's been a constant throughout the game. But there's no accenting at all. Like, I mean, this would have been a perfect time to start throwing in a couple of sub-Saharan accents, maybe some South American, that kind of thing. But I was always hoping for Scandinavian Norns, for Russian Dredge, that kind of thing, But
it's like even the dwarves aren't like the dwarves in Guild Wars 1 sound like
the dwarves.
Like
dwarves can only be Scottish, can't they? That's
but they're not even that.
That's the fantasy lore, isn't it? It's like dwarves have to be Scottish.
In Guild Wars 1, they sounded kind of Eastern European or like Russia kind of vibes. Like, I mean, a lot of people in Guild Wars 1 had weird accents anyway, but like, now in Guild Wars 2, they're just like, you listen to Ogden and it's just kind of like a normal guy.
I mean, Sylvari are British. What more do you want?
That doesn't count. That doesn't count. All that is just speaking English properly. And
but it's not even like an English accent either. It's like
it's like an American doing an English accent.
Americans trying to be English.
Yeah,
and like their culture is Celtic and they should probably be Irish if anything. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I would have loved to have heard some kind of sub-Saharan accents in there. Like we could have got some Transvaal South African the further you went down. Like how cool would that be?
But Alex, they say ahai, so.
Oh, okay.
That's the same thing they said in one word.
That's
cool.
it. That's
miss
our
it.
cultural diversity for the next 2 years, is it?
I think there's a couple though. I think there's a couple of voice actors and actresses in there who are definitely a little more authentic to the region.
It almost seemed like that was a personal choice, though, of the actor rather than like them being told to do that. Because you're right, it was. I didn't even notice really that, but I think if they would have done that, it would have been. Yeah, it would have been a little bit. It would have been neat to be like, oh, these are Alonians, because they are. These are Alonians.
It would have been risky. though, for sure, because doing stuff like that can be so hit and miss.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, especially when you've
It's
got a
much
broad
safer
range
just
of
not
of
to.
accents. It didn't really need it. I mean, it would have been cool. It would have been extra flavor, but I don't know if the risk would have been worth.
I agree.
taking.
I don't think it was needed.
I just want
Yeah.
some nice, thick Brooklyn accents right in the middle of the desolation. Singing those.
Hey, and I say
on?
bada boom, bada bing. Hey.
Are these awakened all over the place?
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Yeah, that's what I want. That's what I just something totally out of the blue. Just be like, "What's this? Why are you here? Out in the middle of nowhere."
It's so good. I mean, there's just I can't. I'm just in love with this expansion. I really am. It's like the most, probably the most fun I've had in Guild Wars since I first ever played it. It's really brought back that kind of sense of adventure and just exploring. Did you guys? I don't know how much you guys have explored in Vavi, but have you found the boneyard?
Yeah.
I don't
Like, how
know.
cool was
I
that?
think so.
I haven't seen a lot of Vabi yet.
It's so cool. I mean, it's just there, and there's nothing. I think there's a point of interest, but you don't even have to go inside to get the point of interest. But it's like a big, like a cave that's so deep that I don't even know if you can get out of it without your mount. And it's just where they throw these like unwanted awakened, like ones
Yeah.
they've deemed useless or whatever, but they're still alive because they're undead. So they're just sitting down there, and they're like, oh,
Feels
basically
bad.
begging you if they can serve you or have some purpose, because they're just standing
Aw.
on piles of.
It's cool,
You know,
man. It's
Aww.
It's really
Yeah.
sad,
No, I haven't
and
been there.
like it's so cool seeing the undead would just be like kind of an enemy type normally, but when you get to Vabi, you realize how incorporated they are into the kind of it's not
That's open world. That's open
so
world. Yeah.
they're just there, and like you are told when you first go there that
It's
people's
the
family.
scout that tells you
you're
about
right. It is.
that
Yeah.
tells you about Vabi. And I
Yeah.
loved that because it wasn't just like, bam, as soon as you go into the desert, there's awakened everywhere. And, they very slowly, as you went south, introduced you to the concept of awakened and telling you more about Joko, and that he is, he's this undead lich ruler, but there's a government, there's an actual system,
Yeah.
and there's a way people live. Like the first people you meet are the people who are escaping, and you're like, oh, this is a bad guy, and oh, the awakened are evil. And as you go south, you continue to fight awakened, but then there's people who are enslaved by the awakened, and they serve Joko, but they're kind of reluctant, and that's where you kind of get like the refugees, and they're running away, and there's people sneaking out. And then there's the giant bone wall, which is so cool. I mean,
So
oh my
creepy.
god, this thing is impressive. So cool. It completely separates the Riverlands from the Desolation. And so you pass through this gate, and like that's where you find Vabi is where they're living among the awakened.
Yeah. The desolation.
That's where the Desolation. There's also the camps, but they're very. If you talk to the
It's
people,
like the Borderlands.
exactly,
It's like
they're
the
they're very
borders,
separated.
yeah.
It's like the people who are the workers. They supply the supplies and they farm the fields, and they supply the army, and they supply Vabi. So they're like the workers, and they're still enslaved. And some of them accept it, some of them want to get away, but it's kind of like, if you talk to them, they're like, okay, we're south of the wall, and those people out there are north of the wall. And they're kind of like, there's this separation. And then you go into Vabi, and you learn that the people are living, this is like the higher up in Joko's kingdom. They're like the upper class, and they're living among the awakened. And your character even says, and this is open world, your character's like, well, why are people okay with living among the awakened? Like, don't they want to not live among these undead? And the person, can't we just burn them all and kill them all? And the scout, who's saying praise Joko,
Praise Joko.
praise Joko. She explains
Goodbye.
They're part of society. They're part of the Vabian society. People live among the awakened. They're, you can't just take them out of the equation, because you will destroy their culture. You'll destroy the way they live, and you can't attack the awakened in Vabi in most places because the people are living among them, and you see the the funerary coffins, and the awakened are standing among the people, and it's this really
That's the heart I was talking about earlier. The necropolis where
Oh.
you're putting flowers on like deceased awakened.
Yeah, I
coffins
did
and
that
all
one.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
And
It was really
it's
sweet.
fascinating going through these layers of culture. I was completely
Well, have you
enthralled
done
by
the
this.
have you done the hero point that's there in the necropolis?
Not
No.
yet.
So there's
think
so
so.
there's a hero point where somebody has died. I forget who. So somebody has died, and the mother or the sister or somebody is like, "Can you please help so and so pass on?" And you're like, "Yeah, sure, I'll help." But how you help exactly is not clear, because then you have to fight his whole family. Now his whole family is standing there. It's like Uncle Tombo, and he's an awakened guy, and Auntie May is a zombie, and they're all different forms of awakening. Like one's a mummy, one's a jackal, whatever. And you have to fight each one of them as they sort of come at you one at a time, and you have to sort of fight them, and that's how you complete the mastery. But it's like I'm fighting Uncle Tombo, Uncle Jeb, Auntie May.
That's the thing. It's so like I think there's somewhere that I don't know where I heard it or whatever, but I'm sure there's some dialogue or an NPC that talks to you, but about how it's kind of an honor to become. You know, you could die
Yeah.
It's a gift.
honor to serve,
Yeah.
and they're so kind of brainwashed. You know, and there's a political kind of metaphor there probably somewhere, but it's like they truly believe all this stuff about Joko and how great he is, and to the
It's
point
true.
where it's an honor to serve him. You know, it's like to serve him after you're dead is a huge thing, and you know people it's their family. Like this awakened guy that you would want to kill because it's undead. Oh my god, it's like their dad or their husband or you know,
Yeah.
and it's they did such a good job of gradually introducing it
They
to
did.
us, but really also just using Vabi as a whole to kind of really illustrate that this is normal for these people. And yeah, you might disagree with Joko, but it's like these are just the people, you know. You can't just march in and kill everyone because you disagree with the guy at the top, you know. Like these are just
Oh, I
people
can.
living their lives. Yeah, but like it's just it's cool. It was just really interesting, and I remember when the demo happened. You know, you hear about Palawa Joko's undead army, all this stuff, and then when we got to go to Amnoon and seeing like that little undead guy at the stall selling, you know, like the kind of merch, I was like, what the hell?
Praise Joko,
You know,
you
and-
buy?
You
Yeah,
bet.
but it's just that's just how it is, you know.
I love-
like for them that's how it is, and it's like for the first time properly in Guild Wars, they've really kind of sold a culture. Like really just done this thing that's different to everything we knew before, that's really believable in its own right.
And I love the architecture too. There's just giant statues of Joko everywhere. Just everywhere. All
That's
the
so
places you go
I hope
to.
you've been
He's just
like,
everywhere. There's just giant monuments to him, to himself. It's amazing.
can you salute them or bow to them? I think it's bow to them.
Is
The
it?
statues, and if you do it, there's an achievement unlocks, and it's like all of the statues of him. You have to go around and like bow to
Oh
them
my
all.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
And you get a title for it. I can't remember what it is. I think it's like disciple of Joko, Palawa Joko or something.
Oh yeah, there's that fantastic. Were we talking about this before we went live? The heart where you talk to the students in the academy.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
There's like what happened to Zaitan is like Palawa Joko ripped his head off. It's like
And you have to be like, you have to correct them on all these things.
Yeah.
They're like, oh.
that's not how it happened.
It's like, oh no, actually, I killed Mordramoth, and the guy's like, haha, yeah, nice joke.
It's like
and
Joko killed
there's-
him with a chicken pie.
I think the best one was something about Krokotark, and they think like he told Krokotark to come here so he could like team up with him or something or use him.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, actually no, Krokotark came here against Joko's will or whatever, and the kid's like, against his will, that's not even possible, you know, or something to happen. It's so good.
It's not even possible. That's
I think,
impossible.
I think anyone with a bit of common sense is very aware of the analogy between Palawa Joko and King and the Kims, which is getting a little
Kim
bit
Possible.
political. I actually kind of really like it that I always have this thing where MMOs tend to be a little bit too wishy-washy and coat over the surface a lot of things, but actually getting into all this stuff with the dichotomy of the awakened and the real life comparisons to especially how Joko runs North Korea. Sorry, how not Joko runs North Korea.
Praise
How
Joko.
Dude, I bet
praise Joko. How Joko. What if King Jong Un is a puppet of Palawa Joko's? Yeah,
Everybody is.
that's a
If
conspiracy.
Joko wills it, then that's how it
If
is.
Joko wills it, it will be done. Yeah. But it's just nice to have those little kind of dark scratches, which kind of bring you a little bit closer to reality. Which it's just maybe that's just me, but I kind of like it.
I like it too, and I've seen a lot of people talking about how, you know, for quite a while, especially because the story we've been getting has been primarily through seasons and it's been limited and kind of TV show-y. The people say, you know, Guild Wars 2 is a bit childish. They don't deal with heavy topics. They don't kind of, but there's actually a lot. Even if the main story isn't, or you know, there's little NPC dialogues and stuff in Path of Fire that are. You know, they're talking about how hard it is, families torn apart, or
Yeah.
you know, people dying, people having to cope with grief and things like that. Like, this has kind of gone back to, like, Guild Wars 1. I think, you know, while it was kind of silly in a lot of places, did have quite a mature kind of world that it was building. You know, you talk to people and you know, bad stuff happened, and it had this kind of, I don't know, just a darker side to it, and I think Guild Wars 2 is kind of getting that back here. And if you just talk to
Definitely in
people
some
or
areas.
look at the refugees and how scared they are and the people they've lost, and you know, and there's even references to things in Guild Wars 1 that, you know, tie into that, and it's just really cool, man. I like this, like you said, Alex, the kind of where you can look at it kind of, and it's very clearly talking about something quite serious. It's nice. You know, in between the kind of timey jokes and things.
Yes. So do you want to talk about the hidden mount, which of course
Well,
is...
we'll talk about
Of
mounts in
course.
general, but real quick while we're talking about the maps, what is like one place that sticks out in your mind so far? And I know I certainly haven't seen everything that the
hard.
maps have to offer, but like, where's one location that just made you like just stop and be like, oh my god, this is amazing, as far as like
Pretty
the
much.
environments go.
Pretty much like every 5 seconds in the Highlands. Like, really, and to the point where it kind of tricked me, because like the snowy area on the west side was such like a block of white, like like still covered with the kind of painting on the map. I didn't even realize, I forgot that like I could go there and that was actually uncovered. It wasn't just the border of the map. And so and just finding like the dwarven mines there, the kind of the actual desert area that you're first in, but then there's like woods, and then there's the whole brand section, and then there's like the nice lakeside like watery bit. Like, there's just so much in that map, and like the Crystal Oasis, obviously I'd seen, and it's beautiful, but it's quite samey throughout. Like, it's a desert, you know, it's like the main desert part. And so going to that map and seeing the kind of variation and how much there was, all the little details, like, I don't know. I mean, there's probably a place I haven't seen. There was a place, I've got map completion on all the maps, but I discovered like 3 caves that were things today. So, you know, there's bound to be somewhere.
There were a couple of there were 2 main ones for me. There was the Shattered Pyramid in the Crystal Oasis. That just, the first time I saw that, I think I did just stop and was just like, all right, that is a good.
They did
I
it
do
good.
like that. They did it good. The other one was in the Desert Highlands, and it's the bit where it's a bit in Dwarven Ruins where one of the legendary bounties is. So the big giant globe where there's a set of diving goggles next to it where you have to
It's above the
where you
mega
have to-
waterfall.
yeah, you have to jump off the mega waterfall and land in like a jar down at the bottom to get the achievement.
I missed
But just
the job.
Wow.
I
didn't know
missed
that.
it by like 3 inches. And I was like,
It's funny because I know exactly the jar you're talking about, but I didn't know there was. I haven't been above there
yeah,
yet.
there's a set of diving goggles at the top, and I was just kind of exploring, and and I had that kind of you know, like the big kind of bulbous dome thing with the really nice.
There's like a temple
lattice
there.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or whatever.
But
I
it
don't
was
know if it's temple, but
it was just like an order of magnitude bigger than the other ones, because you
Yeah.
have to like glide round it to get to the front, and as you're kind of going around it, you're just kind of like, whoa. I just
Can
it made the world feel big. It made the world feel big, and
Oh.
it was really cool. It
I
was
want to
really so-
amend my answer. There's a mastery point in the Highlands that you can use the jackal to get to. I just remembered because I think someone mentioned it in chat. You go through a series of portals, and if you do it at nighttime, you reach this like temple in the sky. And
I've
if
seen
you look up,
screenshots, but I haven't
yeah,
been
there's
there.
like a ghostly city.
It's amazing.
What?
And
the
and
sky,
that
yeah.
that was like I genuinely was like, oh my, like I was like when I first saw it. I didn't realize it, like I was just walking along the path and then kind of like jumped on my chair because I just turned my camera a bit when I was walking along in the sky and it was just like whoa.
You can
And
see
it
it when
was-
you're on the ground at night. If you look up, you see it looks like constellations, but then you look closer, like no, that's actually like a ghostly city. And then
Where
there's
is this?
it's
in
actually
the
it's a
Highlands.
mastery point, so you can't miss it if you're getting map completion or doing all the mastery points.
Okay.
You take the jackal portal on the ground. It takes you up into the sky. You run across like these like ghostly stairs, and then there's a little like floating like physical temple, and you can look out into the night sky at this ghostly city, and
Yeah.
it's beautiful and
gorgeous.
gorgeous. And that was Muggletart, all Muggletart, who was in chat. She said that was all
Really?
her. That was her secret
No way,
area.
dude. That was like that definitely stood out to me as like one of those.
Oh, that is
just like one of the biggest
unbelievable.
moments of just like wow.
I've just had so many in every single map.
Yeah.
There's at least 3 to 4 places minimum, and there's still a lot I haven't seen in every map where I've just stopped and been like, that is seriously cool. The destroyed pyramid, seeing where the Zephyrites used to live. What are some of the other ones? Going to the Temple of Primeval, or the Primeval King, the Tomb of Primeval Kings. The inside of that tomb gives you a very Egyptian pyramid feel that I absolutely love. Where else? Some of the highlands, just going up there. The jars. I talked about the jars like
Dude, the
in at
jars.
least 3 or 4 videos
The
leading up
pots.
to it. On just a screenshot, the pots. The
pots, those.
And you can go in the pots, and the inside of the pot is like a geode.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was basically gonna be mine. That was my choice.
Yeah,
One of them.
It's,
Anyway.
it's stunning. There's a part in the story that we can't talk about that happens in the Riverlands
Yep.
where you enter an area, and I'm just like, this is amazing. Are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. The bone wall, the bone palace, like just the destroyed cities themselves. Like you're coming across the desert or whatever, and you come across just this city that used to be there that is just wiped out because the sand has sort of retaken it. And I just think stuff like that is really just incredible.
The statues, like the huge
Oh,
statues.
those
What are the-
huge statues that are
what are-
broken.
Water itself in most places
Yes,
is like
the
really
water
crystal clear.
is improved.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
It's cool. We've
Crazy.
gone from avoiding water to
Vabi
being
is
hyped to see.
Oh,
There's
there's
so
still
many
sod all
places
to
in
do in the
Abbey.
water, which is a bit sad, but you know.
yeah. There's so many places in Vabi, just that architecture and the gardens and Necropolis is really beautiful, and there's just a lot of just everywhere you look, you can find something where you're just like, that is just crazy incredible.
I've said this.
And,
I've said this before. Sorry, Inks.
No, go ahead.
I've always struggled in Guild Wars 2 to really feel that sense of scale and that the world is this big, impressive thing around me. I've always struggled with that in Guild Wars 2. Even in Heart of Thorns, when I really should have, like, Tarir, like, is big and tall and impressive. I really should have felt that. Still, something was missing for me, and I didn't quite feel that sense of grandeur. Time after time after time in Path of Fire, I finally felt that sense of grandeur, whether it be the Bone Wall or the Mega Waterfall or the Destiny's Gorge, I think, or no, not Destiny's Gorge, but the in the Highlands, the crystal, the purple area, the purple crystal on the right side.
Somebody's lair.
Yeah.
Somebody's lair.
Like there was time after time where I just like had this sense of awe and grandeur. And that was definitely the most concentrated amount of times that I've ever felt that in Guild Wars 2. So they definitely leveled themselves up in that area.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love the pots.
And
I
it's
love those
funny
freaking
too
pots.
because Eternal Mirage has just said like, and I've heard this from at least 6 people already on Twitter. I was trying to avoid spoilers all week, but people were like, calling it 2 years. We're going to Cantha, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be better than anything you've ever seen. And people are already talking about like the next area, and we're not even done with.
Yeah.
We're not even done with this area. Forget about season 4 just yet, which is going to obviously expand upon this area, but it's crazy. And I really look forward to seeing what ArenaNet has in store, because just, so much has improved, right? I feel like map-wise, dialogue-wise, event-wise, even heart-wise. Yes, there's still plenty of hearts that are sort of regular, mundane hearts, but there's a couple of hearts I think that even stand out in the expansion. Mounts are obviously like they knocked it out of the park.
Oh yeah, let's talk about mounts.
Every way.
Yeah.
The animations, the control.
We were on the front page of Reddit.
We were.
Front page Reddit.
We made it.
Of like
just
proper
because of the
run
idle
Reddit.
animations.
Yeah.
Like the least important part of mounts.
Yeah. I
They
mean,
have so much personality.
like the raptor, especially like it's so derpy. Like I kind of got him, and I was just sitting on the top of a pyramid, just trying to take some screenshots, and then all of a sudden, he sticks his tongue out, and then goes for a bit of a wiggle, and then kind of like sits down, pretty much like this, actually, pretty much like this, and and he just kind of sits down, and then he gets back up and starts bouncing around. They're so cool.
And your character interacts with it. Like the manta ray will tap you on the shoulder, and you're like, "What was that?" And when the raptor shakes and you start falling off, like your character gives it like this. What are you doing? Like, come on, stop! Like it's not just like you're sitting there like stone face. Like your character's looking around. Your character's like interacting and like making faces at the mount. The mount's interacting with you. It's God. That's just the idle animations. I mean, let alone how they feel to ride. I love the raptor's got to be my favorite. I love that. Now I don't have the griffin yet. Let alone the fact that there is a hidden mount. What?
Yeah.
It's so good, guys. I mean, I don't want to spoil any of like the kind of quest stuff because it's really good. But it's like to get it, it's a proper adventure. There's instances and stuff. Like it's so much work obviously went into it, and it's
what's crazy about that, and I really don't know what is really involved with the mount as far as how you obtain it. Like I know there's a quest and there's gold involved and so on, but I'm not even necessarily aiming for it right away because I haven't finished the masteries on my other mounts. I really haven't used the jackal that much. I don't even have sand portals with him yet, so I haven't even started going through sand portals. So I feel like before I'm even ready to go for the griffin mount, I want to play with the other mounts that we already have first.
Yeah.
Like I haven't used them enough, with the exception of like the raptor, who I've used a lot, obviously. I guess the rabbit goataroo, or whatever the heck you want to call it. Why does the rabbit kangaroo make goat sounds, by the way?
I don't know.
The first time I heard that, I was like, what is making a goat sound?
Fantasy.
I started looking around, and it's like, oh, my rabbit is a goat kangaroo. Okay. And the that, which is the Springer, and then of course the Skimmer, which is a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't know. I like all of them.
Yeah.
I hate the rabbit.
You hate the rabbit?
I hate my rabbit.
It's okay.
I don't hate it as much as I thought I was going to.
But not because of what it looks like or
It needs a
anything. And I
helmet.
use it probably more than any other mount.
Yeah.
Like it's so useful.
Yeah.
I hate that. I don't know what it. I think it's
I
because it's
think
got
it's-
a face and it's hard to aim properly when
it's also
you're standing
because
at the top of something and you try and turn.
It has
and
a
moves
very
so
wide turn,
Yeah.
so you have to. If you're like in the whole point of the Springer is to get up really high. Sometimes these really small platforms and really tiny things you're trying to jump onto, and then it like bounces around with its giant feet. And you're like, no, don't fall off.
Stop
It's
it.
hard to control it.
It's just because it's got a face. Like if it didn't have a face, I wouldn't hate it. Like I would just be like, oh, it's my
Wow.
bad. I should have controlled
They-
it better. But
They handled better than I was expecting them to, especially after the demo weekend. I've got much more used to it. Also, a tip is I think with mount controls you have to rebind A and D to strafe again.
See, I only ever use strafe, so
Yeah, so
So do I.
by default it's Q and E that are strafe and A and D
that's
are
what I
turn.
have.
So
I think I've never changed that. I don't know. I'm used
So I
to it.
think you have to bind A and D to strafe the amounts again. But the Raptor is cool. It's nice, it's fast, and there's something cool about riding a dinosaur.
and it can leap like halfway across the map.
It's crazy how far the leap is. Like I
Yeah.
forget. Like you do it on a bit of flat ground and you're like, it's not that big, and then you jump over something and you're like, oh my god.
I got the extended jump for it on like the morning of the second day, and I just went around cheesing all the races in the maps, like before people had like properly built up the masteries for it, and they were just like, "What the hell was that?" I was like, "You can't do that." I was like,
I
"Yeah,
love
I
switching
can
mounts halfway through a race.
Yeah.
Like I had a guy get annoyed at me because it was just me and him in this race. It was like the skimmer one, but it was the Springer one, but the last minute it's over a bit of water, so I swapped to the skimmer and just was like cruise past him. He just whispered me. He was like, fuck. You know?
Oh my gosh!
It's all right.
I don't have enough keybinds for all that. I'm out of keybinds for binding those things properly, but
You need
that's
that
okay.
you have to start doing like shift and a key or control and a key.
I
don't-
shift 1 to 5.
I don't even have buttons for that. I've got just a regular mouse. I don't have.
Well, no, I mean
50
like your
keys
keyboard.
on my
Like
mouse.
I've seen people say their mounts are like Control W, Control A, Control S, Control D, to like.
I won't remember. I won't ever remember any of that stuff.
Yeah,
I'll be
it's also-
smashing keys and
Also, yeah.
all kinds of
You gotta get
menus.
it.
pretty-
Come on,
you
Inks.
Come on, man.
For Christmas, we're gonna get
I have
Inks
one. No, I had one of those in the
Oh.
drawer. I broke it.
Well, we'll get you a new one. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Sorry about that. We didn't praise Joko enough.
We
That's-
back.
Well, we did. We
Joko
did.
brought us back.
You know, okay, yes, it was me. It was my internet, so I didn't praise Joko. Sorry, praise Joko. Praise Joko. Please don't take my internet again.
Gosh.
Joko, I need JokoNet. That's why.
JokoNet.
That sounds like a cereal. It's like Joko Puffs.
Joko Puffs. little marshmallow skulls and bones and
Yes.
whatever.
Yes. Oh my god.
Choco Puffs and Golden Orines.
It's so good.
Oreos. Orinos.
Orinos!
Jesus Christ.
Oh my god.
Anyway, so we were talking about mounts before we
Yeah. So what's your favorite mount? I think so far, even though I love the Jackal as far as it's a puppy, I like the feel of the Raptor the best, definitely. I find myself always defaulting to the Raptor. But I think once I get the Griffin, I think I'm going to absolutely love the Griffin as well, though.
Yeah. The Griffin is crazy. Like, I went to Verdant Brink and just, it's insane. Like, how fast you can cover a map when you have a strong enough dive to build up speed. My favorite before it came out was the Skimmer, and I think that's still kind of like aesthetically my favorite. I think in terms of like mechanics, the Jackal is so cool, but I'm a cat man. I don't like dogs that much.
I always feel like
it kind of, I don't know.
So I think the Skimmer is my favorite as well, but I always feel slow when I'm on the Skimmer.
Yeah,
Well,
same.
the mounts
think
do
it's the
have
slowest.
different speed ratings.
Yeah.
And I
Someone
always
worked-
want to, because one is like, his engage is like this twirl, I always want to press 1 because I feel like that's going to speed me up, but then I don't want to get off the actual mouse.
Yeah.
I just want to do the spin to go a little bit faster.
I know, I do that
do that
too.
all the time, dude.
But that's not actually what you're supposed to do with it. But yeah, I mean, I guess across sand and water, it's probably much faster than actually it is. But I like the way it took a little time. Like all the mounts, when you get them, at least for me, they took a little time to get used to. So like you start with the Raptor, and in the demo weekend, I was like, the controls are a little whatever. I'm sure I'll get used to it. Sure enough, you get used to it. But then you get the bunny, and it's like, the bunny, what the heck? Why can't you just jump where I want you to jump? Like the controls are And then you
Well,
get the skimmer who
it-
feels different from that. Like they all feel different, which is good. It's a good thing.
Mhm.
But it does mean, at least for me, it takes like
Here's-
I don't know.
Here's some numbers. Actually, I've actually got the numbers on here.
Do we need to know exact seconds?
From
that-
Reddit. Okay, so
We don't, Alex. We don't.
We
You can.
don't.
I'm sorry. I'm going to stop
do.
you right there because you're going to go on for 5 minutes about exact numbers. I'm sorry. We don't need that. Link the Reddit thread. Link the Reddit thread.
fine.
The
Jeez.
skimmer's slowest on land.
Right. The Raptor's
Fastest
fastest.
across water. The Griffin
Right.
is the fastest overall if you have enough.
Actually, the
like
Jackal is the
space for it.
fastest.
But Jackal is
If
faster
you
than the
use
Raptor if
the
you're
ability?
No, just by things. See, this is where numbers come in handy, Peachy.
I don't need to know
It's
the exact
actually-
numbers. Just tell me the
Dude,
Jackal's the
we're not
fastest.
nerds, Alex.
It's actually a 6.0% difference between mount speed.
Oh,
Between-
damn.
Damn you, Alex.
But yeah,
Number God.
I'll shut up now. It's been a long day. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
I was up at 4:30 this morning.
It's okay, dude. I want Gemster skins, please. I was really hoping
No.
that there'd be some on launch day, because
No.
but the thing is, if they implement them, I want there to be a bunch of them at the same time. I don't want to see everyone with like the Halloween skins. You know, when everyone has the
My
same
Halloween
thing.
jackal.
Oh,
It's
yes.
cool, but no, thanks.
No, I know.
The dye thing as well. I feel like there wasn't enough dye channels, but I think the fact that there wasn't
That's
enough
true.
dye channels was because there's gonna be skins, right?
I was gonna say,
Oh.
I feel like you're gonna buy outfits and armor for the mounts.
I hope
Not-
that's the case. I really
Not
hope that's the case.
necessarily like the jackal becomes
You know,
I
a
don't
skeleton jackal or
skeleton.
I could
jackal,
see
or-
a skeleton
I don't know.
jackal, but not like your Springer is
horse.
not going to be right. Exactly.
A
Your-
teleport horse.
No,
Whatever.
no,
exactly.
it's-
not
yeah,
going to
no,
be your
I
raptor's
wouldn't-
not going to become a horse. I think it's going to be like hats. And a Santa hat. You could buy a Santa hat
Oh.
for your raptor, and you can buy a
No,
yes.
this is
Make a
I was
pumpkin
thinking
head
like
raptor.
armor, like proper
Like horse
flamey
armor.
spikes.
I
Yeah.
bet there's going to be that too. I think they should do everything. There should be outfits and armors and bow ties and hats and
no,
all kinds of
no.
stuff.
Oh,
If the
please.
Springer becomes just a plain kangaroo, I better be able to ride in his pouch. I'm just saying. I better be belly mounted, or else I'm gonna be really
like a
unhappy.
full size Norn in his
Yeah.
I no,
Bog on her
like
riding in the pouch.
Bunny ears for your raptor, yes.
I think, but
Jump,
that's
damn
an
you.
interesting thing though. Do you think they will have things that, like, do you think you'll buy like a piece of armor that then gets applied to all your mounts? Or do you
I
think it'll be
think-
like, 800 gems for this raptor hat?
And
And
then
then
it's
even
only
the
for the
gems for a
raptor.
skimmer monocle.
If it's the same
Skimmer
thing,
monocle.
if it's like okay, a bow tie, then it better be for all of your mounts. You don't have to buy like,
Yeah.
but there could
How
be
would that
something
work?
that's unique to putting, I don't know, bells on the raptor's tail. Well, maybe bells wouldn't work on this
Yeah, they
the
would.
bunny
It'd be good
tail
on
or
the
something.
skimmer.
They would,
On the
but
bunny,
I was saying
yeah.
for example, something like that. I could see us getting both unique things for hopefully less gems, and then things that's like all that work on all mounts.
As
Like a little accessory or something, like a
Right.
hat. Or,
Right.
as much
Could
as
be, you know,
as
a couple
much as it
hundred
might
gems.
be fun, it's I don't want to piss on ArenaNet's bonfire for going down the more microtransactions thing, because that's how they finance the game, and like it's a good idea
Mhm.
the way that they do it. But look, I've got to pay my mortgage, right?
Numbers with Alex. Welcome back to Number Gab,
Welcome back
guys.
to
He
numbers.
doesn't
And when,
want to be tempted, ArenaNet, by your
Yeah.
raptor hats.
yeah, I don't want to buy
Gotta make
raps.
it worth it.
So when I go to the bank and they're like, "Look, you've got to give us some money, or we're going to take your house away," I can't really go no. But
Because
look at
my
look,
raptor's
look at
got-
this look at this digital dinosaur.
I've had to put a
You
hat
don't
on
need
him.
but you don't
Put a
need
hat
to,
on it.
and you can exchange your gold.
Ah,
Alex,
farm
your
in-game
gems,
gold,
remember?
Mr. Alex.
Alex.
To be fair, if my mortgage advisor comes back with that, I'll be impressed.
Fair enough. I think I
That's right, Alex. ArenaNet has to pay their mortgages too.
Damn straight.
So buy the hat.
So,
Buy the hat, Alex.
no, don't stop
I think
pressuring me, damn it. I'll buy enough shit from your gem store.
There's no UI section for it though, which kind of got me a bit unsure.
No.
And so that would have to be a whole thing that gets
But I can
implemented.
imagine they'll add it.
The problem, the reason I want it, I wasn't 100% against it beforehand. I knew it was probably gonna happen. I just wanted there to be some in-game stuff you could earn as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be
Right.
monetized in some way.
It's
Yeah.
gliders
Some way,
all
shape,
over
or
again.
form.
You know,
Yeah,
people
yeah,
are gonna there's gem store gliders, but like why no in-game earnable gliders? So
Yeah.
it's going to be the same
Legendary.
thing,
Legendary mounts.
except
Actually-
for the legendary. Yeah, legendary mounts.
But I think
yes.
Someone said Fire or Ice Raptor skin. That'd be cool,
Mm.
actually. Oh,
And I can
damn
see
it!
them
I'd
doing
pay for
that.
those as well.
I can see them doing that.
it's a bit
Like the
over
mini
top.
raptors, so like the mini raptor collection, they're solid color raptors.
Mm.
Right.
And for the most part, nothing too special until you get to like the silver or gold, which has like a metallic sheen to it, or the fire and ice, which have like a special effect to them.
Oh, the
So,
Fire and Ice ones look so good. Like
yeah.
those, yeah.
They better
I would.
not do
I'm in the
that.
camp. Yes,
I could
I'm in
the fire and
camp where I
ice.
wouldn't
Yes, there has to be
resist
some
stuff.
other effect or rig to it, not just like pay 300 gems for an all red raptor, because that's just a
That-
dye channel.
Sure, right? Yeah, like I said,
You know
the
what I
plain
mean?
ones don't make a lot of sense
Right.
because you can just dye your raptor all red if you wanted to. But
Yeah.
the special
But
effect
you
ones,
can't, though. That's the thing, and this is why I'm so sure that this is definitely going to happen. Is because the dye channels are so limited. Like, was there a
Yeah.
reason why we couldn't have two tones? Pretty much
Yeah.
all of the mounts work on a two-tone type of thing anyway.
Yeah, it's
Like
true.
the stripes and the base color, and the Springer, the Raptor has like the underbelly stuff, and then the kind of highlight color. Like, it seems like everything works off the two thing, but there's only one dye channel, and I feel like
Yeah.
that restriction is there to help boost sales and mount skins, which is fine. But I would rather little accessories or bits of armor or cool things like that, as opposed to walking down, Divinity's Reach and just seeing this giant flaming dinosaur that doesn't feel like Guild Wars. Like gliders, okay, it's just gliding.
wait a
but
minute, come on.
When you're
now.
seeing hundreds of people walking around on stuff, I don't.
I can promise you,
It's
it
immersion
feels-
breaking stuff,
I
man.
can promise
that
you
be like
it
the-
feels the same when everybody
immersion.
is being held up by celestial chickens gliding at the same time, or in a bubble, or on
But it's for like,
clouds.
but how often? Like, it's not much of your playtime is seeing people gliding. Like
It's-
it's kind of a bit more
for a raider,
forgivable.
it is.
Although to be fair, having like a formation meteor storm is actually really cool.
Yeah, it's
I was
cool.
I was on the captain's airship, and like a bunch of us were just like jumped off, and you had half a dozen of the meteor gliders like flying
Oh
down.
my
I
God,
wish I'd
shit.
taken a screenshot of it.
But like,
But-
for
I-
a
I-
mount, they've worked so hard to make them believable, like they're living things. Even in how they move and everything. I want them
I
to
think
kind
they'll
of
be.
have some semblance to. I prefer the idea that this is like a pet of ours, as opposed to like some.
Sure, but I think there'll be some
I don't know.
fun skins. They always
yeah, for
put in,
sure.
I
you
hope
know,
so. Like Dwight was saying about legendary mounts,
Rainbow
stuff like the
trails
Fire or the Ice Raptor, have them legendary, and they have like the footprints and everything that trails behind. That'd be so cool.
I'm surprised they haven't sold us a rainbow dye yet. Just the one dye that is multiple rainbow colors.
Oh,
Well, people have
wow.
been saying like legendary dyes for a while, with
Mm.
really pronounced
A
effects.
legendary
Kinda
red
cool.
dye and a legendary blue dye.
Yeah, but anyway,
Okay,
let's. not-
I just want some more
Real.
customization for them for sure.
But-
Even just a pointless option to be able to name them like the ranger pets.
I
Like
want-
it doesn't add anything.
They've
but
got
it
to be
just would
named. They've
cool.
got to be named for the simple reason I want to call my raptor Clever Girl.
Clever girl.
You and 50 other clever girls running around.
Yep.
Yep. I
Sorry,
just
clever
thought of
girl
it.
has been taken. Please spell differently.
Oh, jeez.
Imagine, but that'd be so cool if it was locked out like that. You had to have a unique name. That'd be amazing.
Oh, that'd be rubbish.
I'd love it. That'd be so cool.
Can
Like
I,
it's so pointless, but I just like it for flavor.
can I brag for a second that I opened 8 black lion chests and got the Hydra staff and the jackal mount backpack, and a
That
timekeeper
totally does-
skin, and a die
that
pack, and a total makeover kit.
It
There's-
totally doesn't look like it's humping your back, does it?
It's so
It's-
cute.
It's hanging on.
I must say, I was
Like-
super bummed when I
It's
learned
like
it was
that.
a black lion weapon chest skin, or black lion chest skin.
but it was fine. You just opened 5.
It was fine. I opened 5 and I got it, so it was no
just
big
open
deal.
one. It doesn't matter, dude. So you
Hashtag
guys, you should
rigged.
all buy Black Lion keys because they're so valuable. And
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Always
They
get
must
cool
have
things.
upped the drop rate for rare
And
stuff.
they never
'cause-
ever give you Mystic Forge
I
stones.
can promise
Never.
you that they have not.
Or revival.
It's so good.
Anyway, what else did we want to talk? Oh, elite specs.
Yeah, elite
Scourge.
specs. Scourge all
How
the
we
way.
feeling?
Corvus.
I said this on, I don't know how many episodes ago it was, might have just been the last one, but I wasn't sure on the Scourge, and I was quite tempted to swap to Mirage because, you know, it looked amazing. But I really like Scourge, man. I really find it fun. Well, Reaper kind of stayed the same. Like, you know, you had your one F1 skill, and kind of it was the same. It was just kind of the same. It was just like more Necro, but just better Necro. This really changed it up, and you're having to manage things like your shades, or if you use the trait that gives you one big shade, you know, you're having to manage like when that's going to despawn to load up. Like it just feels a bit more complex. Like Necro was always quite simple and easy, and Reaper was as well. And it's just nice to have loads of little things to manage now, and it feels
Of course,
way
you
more
get access
involved.
to
and it's
barrier,
fun.
don't you? 'Cause
And
it's-
barrier, I'm surprised at how fun. Not for any actual practical reason. I just like being in a squad and seeing the little bit of yellow go on everyone. Like, it's not actually useful. I've not found like a proper use for barrier yet, really. But it's cool knowing that I'm affecting other people for the first time in, you know, 5 years on an acro.
That's really cool. I have to agree with you with the Firebrand. You know, Guardian is really simple and straightforward. Dragon Hunter is very simple and straightforward. And then Firebrand throws all this complication in, and I did my best to play through the entire story with Firebrand, and I'm still playing with Firebrand, and there was a couple times when I was having trouble, and I switched back to Dragon Hunter just because I needed something familiar. I needed to have my, my best game on. But other than that, I pretty much stayed on Firebrand the whole time, and it felt good, except for, me not knowing. I don't have like a rotation down for the tomes. I just kind of switch into tome and spam everything and then switch out, or I only have the 5 pages on so that I automatically switch out basically after I've hit every skill, and I do the same thing whenever and it is very powerful.
Yeah.
Some of those numbers. Some of the numbers.
crazy.
Number gab,
Easy.
guys. Alex is back with the numbers again.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring up the number. I'm just saying, like full Zerker build, and yet I'm still burning everyone to the ground. It's crazy.
It looks
but
wonderful.
The one thing I don't like about it is I feel like if I'm Firebrand, I feel like I have to use Axe, which I like. I like the Axe, but it's melee, and that
And
means
you like your
want
bow
to
more.
I want to melee and a ranged, and I definitely love the bow more. And I don't want to have great sword. I don't want to have Axe and great sword. I want to have 2 melee. So it takes away my longbow and it takes away my great sword, which is like my bread and butter.
Stuff.
And I was like, no, it
Yeah.
sucks, and I think my
Set
internet
torch.
might be
The
dying
torch.
again.
Scepter torch and watch those burn ticks happen.
I do scepter torch, but I get very annoyed at the scepter. The scepter auto attack has always pissed me off because the sound effects are so loud. Psh, 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 psh. Oh my god!
There's
What?
another orb. There's another orb.
Yeah.
There's another orb.
Jum, jum, jum,
Like
jum.
walking into the orbs, man. Yeah, no bother.
Yeah. Praise Joko. Oh, praise Joko. Praise
Praise
Joko.
Joko.
Thank you guys. You saved me. Praise Joko. Yeah. Our internet was
So I
dark,
got
bad.
So I had I've had a good mess around with Soul Beast, and when I started it, I liked it. Then I got 6 hours in, and then I was like, "This is rubbish."
No.
Yeah, and then
I like
4
Soul
hours
Beast.
later, I was, "This is ridiculous. This is like Condi Ranger on easy mode."
Yeah, it
because
is.
because one of the whole ideas about Soul Beast was that you're supposed to swap in and out of your pet, and the only time that I did that is for a boss that we're going to talk about next week because I needed to get the aggro off me. That is the only time I've not been camping
See,
Soul Beast.
I switch a lot. I hardly ever camp in Soul
I,
Beast
ca-
mode.
I camp Tiger. I camp Tiger, and that is it. And
That's
just
not even a condition pet.
I know, but you get the but but you, but you know what I mean. Tiger is still the meta for standard Condi Ranger anyway, and it like you just take it and you just boost your might and your fury, and the way that Vulture stance and the special action stuff interacts with your fury generation as well. It's so cool, and it is Condi Ranger with a couple of alterations, but it is ultimate cheese mode. Like you slap a dagger on and you just hammer the auto attack, and that's it.
It sounds
It's great.
cool.
You
Yeah,
just
I tried it in the demo, and I actually really liked it. You know, I never liked
bleeding
Ranger very
stacks.
much,
Like in 15 seconds, you can get what like 40 or 45 stacks of bleeding going. It's honestly, it's insane. It's stupid, but it's great.
Cool.
It's great fun, especially because I don't have to deal with the pet anymore. So
and then I can just send all those Condis back at you. It's really cool.
Yeah, I tend to. I've been playing Soul Beast as well. I've been using Dagger, Torch, Shortbow.
yeah,
like, standard. And then I always use Black Moa as my Condi pet. I don't use the blue
dragon.
so much. On larger targets, I'll switch to him, but usually it's the Black Moa.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I find I swap in and out pretty frequently. I'll usually start inside, get into melee range. Well, usually I'll let the pet attack use his special, you suck him in,
Yeah.
or draw him in, consume his soul, whatever. Lay down all my Condis, use his Condi skills, pop him back out so that he pulls the aggro off me while I continue to DPS from behind. And then when it's up, if I need to switch to break bar or something, I can switch Moa, suck the Moa in, CC again, pop the Moa back out. So I'm in and out of, like, I dance between those two quite a bit.
Yeah. Do you think that having a pet swap while you're in Soul Beast would take it a bit too OP?
Maybe.
Does it count as stuff when you
when you're swapping in and out?
Yeah, does it trigger like traits or sigils?
You can still not when you're swapping in and out. If you wanted to take the if for some reason you have the Core of the Wild trait selected on the power line, and there's another one as well, I think on Beast Mastery, that gives you Fury and Might every time you swap pets. If you have those turned on, or if you have those selected, it doesn't ping when you swap in and out of Soul Beast.
I heard that using obviously your F skills when you're in the beast mode, it counts as pet skills.
Yeah.
So you can kind of control procs like that. But that's a shame because it would have because I think Necro, like even just entering Shroud, like counts as a weapon swap or something, like and can proc stuff. So you can use it. It's a shame it doesn't do that because it's quite similar to Shrouds in a way. Like it doesn't have like the kind of build up of life force or anything, but if it could proc stuff, it'd be neat.
Yeah. Chimera, there's no reason to not run Condi Soul Beast. Like Condi is the way to go with it. It's pretty built for Condi. In fact, I mean, this isn't really a GuildGab kind of thing, but it is pretty Condi. Like a lot of the specializations are Condi based all around. Like I've been dabbling with Renegade as well, and that's a lot of fun. Like
I'm excited to try that one.
The
even though I have
bow
no
isn't
idea
that
how that
effective.
I can't wait to try it as well.
But it's fun and it looks cool, and it's got a really good feel to it. Got a really nice feel to it.
Are the daggers good? How do you feel about your new elite? I know Peachy, you said about that the axe being melee and stuff, but how are you liking the new elite spec weapon? Because I love Necro Torch and I was expecting to hate it.
Oh, you mean like specifically Firebrand axe?
Yeah.
I mean, I like it. I like putting the. I mean, it's got 3 really good skills. It puts you run in, you put the symbol on the ground, and then you start hacking away. If they start running away, you have the pull. So it's very like it's both effective and utility, and it's kind of cool because you have the 3 swipes, and it's like kind of like that spirit axe, and it does double damage on every swipe. So it feels really good, and it hits 3 targets. So it's almost kind of reminiscent of both Greatsword and almost the staff, where you're hitting a lot of targets with every swing. So it feels good. I just hate not having my greatsword. I feel so lonely
could the
without
axe
it.
replace the loot stick as the loot axe if it's actually
Well,
got a
we'll
decent...
find out come Halloween.
Halloween, not too far.
But
It's only
that
a
is
few
the
weeks.
problem with the axe. It is it's melee. It doesn't have that
Yeah.
range. So
It's October tomorrow. Well, technically for us,
God,
it's
it is,
past
isn't it?
midnight, so it's October. So Halloween's only in a couple weeks, man.
I know. I'm excited.
It's crazy. I'm hyped.
Crazy excited.
I've not tried any of the other elite specs. Holosmith looks like a lot of fun.
It looks
from
crazy
what-
fun.
But from what I understand about it, or from what I read, it seems like it might be strongest on PvE solo content because it's got quite a bit of might generation. But it's self might generation. There's not a lot of boon shares when it comes to.
I mean, I think like anything else, by the time we get a new raid, new fractal and stuff, we'll probably get another balance patch, and
Yeah.
so I'm really,
Things will have settled
until
a
that
bit.
new content comes, I'm not super worried about. I mean, there's numbers out there, there's builds out there already for people who want to go search
Sure.
that stuff. I'm not going to worry about gearing up until like that stuff happens, because I'm just going to change again come the new raid wing,
Yep.
which
Yeah.
I imagine is
Absolutely.
probably only like a month or two away.
I
so.
really hope so, and that's exactly what I'm waiting for too. When the next raid wing comes out, if I can play Firebrand, and I'm just waiting for the builds. I'm not a buildomancer. I don't put together the builds. I'll wait till somebody puts together a raid build, and get gear myself up, and then learn the rotations. That's what's going to determine for me whether I enjoy the rotations of Firebrand, and I'm looking forward to the complexity, because Guardian and Dragon Hunter are so simple. I'm looking forward to actually, for the first time, learning a more complicated rotation. If we even utilize all the tomes, I don't know. I assume so. It depends on the role as well, which I imagine will be Condi, which for me is pretty cool because I don't have a Condi raid character right now. So that's gonna seal Firebrand's fate for me on whether I like it or not is when I play it in raids.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too to really keep in mind for people is you were clearing raids, and this is pretty important, but you were clearing raids with the old builds. Nothing has changed enough that you can't just go back to using the old builds.
Sure, absolutely.
So if for some reason, let's say, like, especially for rangers like me and Alex, druid is still going to be, you're going to have to play druid. Soul beast, there might be a soul beast or two depending on how well the DPS shakes out, but really you're still going to have probably 2 druids. So
Yeah.
you're still going to play druid. It doesn't.
That's not going to change forever.
No, yeah.
They didn't even add anything that could even.
And if
kind
you
of
want to hard
contest it.
carry like in fractals and stuff, you're just going to play druid. So
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah.
And I think
I refuse to be druid for the 4th raid ring in a row, guys. I'm sorry. Come on, somebody else.
Druid's
step up.
easy.
Oh, it is. It is. I want to play my guardian.
Do you want to hit stuff
I
instead
want to
of
hit stuff
heal stuff?
instead of
Do you
heal
think
stuff.
Necro
for
might actually be
first
good?
time in 2 years.
Do you think Scourge is going to be useful, guys?
All right, let's not get carried away, mate. We're all excited about that.
But I've waited like half a decade for some group content. Join
I think Scourge will have a place. I think it's very useful. Having the barrier generation would probably be like a get out of jail free card for groups that aren't that kind of.
But I think they still have to add something that's really going to use it. Like,
Yeah.
what can barrier do against something that like just straight healing can't?
It comes from a different pool, doesn't it? It puts it on top of your health. So even
Yeah, but the healing you can gain extra. So if there's a big nuke attack that's percentage based and does like, I don't know, like 90% of whatever health you've got, or something,
Right.
but counts barrier on top of it, then you could stack it like quickly and you survive that nuke. But that's like one mechanic that they're gonna be able to use it. Really,
I think it's going to depend on the encounter. It's going to depend on the mechanics of the bosses. So there might be, like I was telling Bog this with the Spellbreaker. I said there might be a raid boss that really the mechanics of the boss could use a spellbreaker, and the spellbreaker like is the counter, and you need that spellbreaker for that one
Like
phase.
Boon Rip and stuff.
Right, like
The Scourge would be good in that as well. 'Cause there's a lot
exactly.
of
So there
corruption
could be
and stuff.
a role for the Scourge for that barrier, like you said. That's
I'd like that.
Yeah, I
It'd be
think
nice to be important.
we need you,
again-
Scourge.
again there was a post on Reddit about this. There's a different people use Scourge or Necro or whatever isn't viable in raids, and someone very rightly pointed out there's a difference between optimal and viable.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
It's like-
Yeah.
But it doesn't really mean anything because everyone wants to be as fast or as successful as possible. No one wants to go, let's do this raid, but how about this time we take more risks and maybe fail it? You know, they want to do the most efficient, safest thing
But
they can
on the other,
possibly
we can all agree we'd take somebody who knows their class over somebody who is playing a meta build and doesn't know it.
do. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Well, nah, I don't know, man.
Well, it depends on the
No,
raid group.
absolutely.
I'm
You know.
joking.
Absolutely perfect example of this. Miss AuroraPeachy, you clear raids every week, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yet I know for a fact you do not use the Guardian meta build.
I do now.
You're told
Well,
you'd be kicked out of the group, by the way.
personally, and I think optimally in any raid group, you have to make your build, and for me that is copying a meta build. But then as you go, you tweak it for your own play style and for your raid group.
Absolutely.
Your raid group, every raid
That's
group is
kind of my
differently. Every raid group needs, some might need more healing, some might need less healing. We're on a wall right now where we're at Samarog challenge mode, and not only do people have to get the mechanics down perfectly, but like we hit a DPS wall. I was actually still doing Druid, and we just could not do enough DPS, and so we said, okay, let's change up our comp and switch one of our druids, which was me, to Dragon Hunter, one of the highest DPS in the game at the time, and suddenly we were hitting our DPS marks. So you have to adjust for your own raid group and your raid group skills, not just flat play the meta and you win. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Which is a great thing about Guild Wars 2.
Well, and
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong, but I know that when I used to raid with Rio, he always plays Necro.
Yeah.
And Necro hasn't really been necessarily part of the meta, the optimized meta, for quite a while. But he still plays it, still
Yeah.
works, it's
Yep.
fine.
Yeah, of course. You just have
Yep.
to be. Yeah, I guess it just
Yeah.
comes down to what you're good at.
Yeah. I think we're going to wrap it up because this has been a long show.
Yeah.
It has.
Woo!
Oh god, it's 20 past 12.
I know, it's so late,
Yeah.
guys. Thank you
It's
so
tomorrow.
much. And I know, Inks, you weren't feeling well today. So, you guys, thank you so much. I'm so glad we had a full cast today for this show.
Yeah, it's been great.
This was so great. So next week, guys, we're going to see, like, the soonest that we can all get together and that we have free and that we can schedule a show next week. Because we are dying to talk about the story as much as you guys are dying to hear about it. So... as keep an eye on the schedule, keep an eye on Twitter. All the links are down below, as well as all of these guys. Please go follow on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter. All the links are in the description of the YouTube video and in the chat here on Twitch. So thank you guys for watching. We will see you next week. Tune into all of our channels for more Guild Wars 2 content, and take care. Have fun in the desert, guys. Bye.
Praise Joko!
Praise Jogo.
Praise Joko.
Praise Joko. Praise Joko. Praise Joko.